Welcome back to the channel. If you're currently building Assassin and having a hard time figuring out which inscription you should choose, then make sure to watch this video. I've tested almost every core and support option currently available in the game, carefully checking how they perform in real combat, and today I'm going to rank all of them from the worst to the absolute best, along with clear explanations of why I rank them that way, so you can confidently build your Assassin without having to waste resources testing everything yourself like I did. Before we get into the ranking, I want to quickly talk about what makes Assassin unique, because this is the key to understanding why I ranked the inscriptions the way I did. Assassin is a class with an extremely fast combat rhythm. Its two basic skills, Grace's Slash and Pierce, only have a 1-second cooldown, so you can almost spam them continuously. Then you have your main damage skills, Dismember and Bladed Dance, which have a 4.3-second cooldown, and at the top of the damage hierarchy are the two ultimate skills, Regicide and Death Dance, which have a massive 21-second cooldown, but deal insane amounts of damage. Regicide alone has a 779% damage rate, which can almost completely wipe out an opponent's HP in a single hit if you build it correctly. Because Assassin revolves around such a fast and aggressive combat rhythm, any inscription that slows you down, locks you out of your combo, or forces you to give up too much just to gain a small amount of extra power is simply a bad choice for this class. And with that in mind, let's get into the ranking. First up is Tier D, which is the group I strongly recommend staying away from completely. Don't waste your resources here. At the top of the trash list is Arbiter Domain in the core category. At first glance, it actually looks pretty decent, giving you a 20.5% damage boost for 16 seconds. But the problem is its activation rate, which is only 10%. And once it activates, you have to wait a full 40 seconds before it can trigger again. For a class like Assassin that relies on consistent damage and maintaining pressure, this is simply too much of a gamble. I tested it across more than a dozen matches, and there were times when it didn't proc even once during the entire fight, making it completely useless. Next, we have an entire group of support inscriptions that I call the Initial Cooldown group: Stasis Field, Pause Field, Slow Field, Snare Field, and Mirror Device. What they all have in common is that they significantly increase the initial inscription lockout at the start of the battle, with some of them increasing it by as much as 100%. Just imagine an assassin jumping into combat and trying to unleash a combo immediately, only to have their inscription locked during those crucial opening seconds. You're basically slowing down your own combat rhythm. The passive damage buffs that come with these inscriptions are also only around 1.2% to 1.92%. which simply isn't enough to compensate for what you're giving up. So remember, never pick these inscriptions for Assassin. Moving on to Tier C, this is what I call the temporary substitute tier. They're usable if you don't have anything better, but don't expect too much from them. Here we have 4 names that are pretty similar: Dawnflower Art, Sharpbolt Art, Mistveil Art, and Twin Serpent Art. What all 4 have in common is that their damage buffs are simply too small, only around 3% to 5%, while also having fairly long cooldowns or coming with a damage reduction debuff while waiting for the cooldown. Assassin's extremely fast attack speed, these small inconsistent buffs barely make any noticeable difference. Next is Grudge Domain in the core category. At first glance, this one looks pretty good because it gives you up to a 23.25% damage boost. But in exchange, you have to suffer a 3% damage reduction debuff for the entire 36 seconds while waiting for it to come off cooldown. That's a pretty expensive trade-off for a class that needs to maintain consistent damage throughout the fight. Finally, we have Lone Lamp Art and Crimson Cup Art in the support category. Both have either a low activation rate or buffs that are simply too small, so they're not worth considering when you have better options available. Moving on to Tier B, this is the average to good tier. They're not bad, but they're also not strong enough to completely satisfy you. Karmic Domain in the core category is an interesting example. Its buff is actually very good, giving you up to 34.8% increased damage. But the downside is that you suffer a 4.2% damage reduction for the entire 42 seconds while waiting for the cooldown. If you're playing a fast, burst-oriented playstyle with short fights, Karmic Domain is still pretty solid because you rarely have to deal with the debuff for very long. But in longer boss fights, it gradually starts hurting your own overall performance. Sin Domain is also in this tier. It has a 25% activation rate, which is fairly easy for Assassin to trigger thanks to its fast attack speed, and the 24% damage boost for 10 seconds is not bad either. The problem is that after each proc, you have to wait at least 30 seconds before it can trigger again, creating a fairly long period of downtime and making your damage output much less consistent. As for Windowless Art in the support category, this is basically a set it and forget it option. It gives you a permanent 1.5% damage boost and requires no setup or extra management, making it extremely easy to use. However, the actual stat is simply too modest, so it's really only worth using when you don't have anything better to fill that slot. Now we get to the more interesting part, Tier A. This is the true elite tier, strong enough to carry your build if you don't have access to any Tier S options yet. In the core category, the two names that stand out the most are Arcane Domain and Holy Blade Domain. Arcane Domain gives you a permanent 8.5% damage increase with absolutely no conditions or drawbacks, making it extremely consistent and comfortable to use. Holy Blade Domain is more aggressive, giving you a 29.7% damage boost with a relatively short 30-second cooldown, while the penalty during the cooldown is also fairly light, with only a 3.6% damage reduction. These two are both very solid core choices if you want a stable foundation before eventually upgrading to something better. On the support side, the short duration buff group consisting of Dreamforge art, Flowfire art, and Daybreak art is also worth highlighting. They provide damage boosts ranging from 5% to 7.4% for around 9 to 10 seconds, which fits extremely well with Assassin's constant skill rotation. As long as you keep attacking, you can almost always have one of these buffs active. Finally, we have the medium initial cooldown reduction group, including Quick Field, Speed Field, and Life Device. These inscriptions reduce the initial combo lockout by anywhere from 10% to 30%, allowing you to unleash your combo earlier. That can be a significant advantage in short fights, where getting your opening combo out first can make the difference between winning and losing. And finally, we've reached the part I'm sure many of you have been waiting for, Tier S. The 4 kings of Assassin. These are the 4 inscriptions that truly deserve to stand at the very top. First up is Judgment Domain, a 5-star core, and this is quite literally a flawless damage monster. It increases your damage by up to 31.65% for 18 seconds, and what makes it so powerful is that it comes with absolutely no debuff, buff, or drawback during the 42-second cooldown. This is pure damage with nothing to sacrifice in return, making it almost ideal for a class like Assassin that needs to maintain consistent damage throughout the fight. Second is Vengeance Domain, a 3-star core with an insane damage boost of up to 50.32% for 20 seconds. Just imagine pairing Vengeance Domain with Regicide, that massive 779% damage ultimate, and your opponent can practically disappear instantly. It happens so fast that you might not even notice the 5.44% damage reduction debuff while waiting for the cooldown. This is basically a high-reward, low-risk gamble that can absolutely destroy your target. Third is Rapid Field in the support category. Never underestimate its 50% initial cooldown reduction. This is one of the secrets that many experienced players rely on, because Assassin's ultimates like Death Dance and Regicide take 21 seconds to come back. Rapid Field allows your entire inscription setup to be ready right around the same time as your first ultimate cycle, creating an incredibly smooth burst window very early in the fight. And finally, we have Radiant Art in the support category. It gives you a 4.17% damage increase with an extremely short 21-second cooldown, and most importantly, it comes with absolutely no damage penalty. This makes it one of the most consistent support options to pair with the powerful core inscriptions above, and together they form what is almost the perfect combination. To sum everything up, if you're wondering where you should invest your resources first, my advice is to prioritize farming the Tier S4 Kings, especially Judgment Domain and Rapid Field, because this combination gives you almost perfect consistency without forcing you to sacrifice anything. If you prefer a high-risk, high-reward playstyle and want to maximize burst damage to take down your opponent in a single attack, then Vengeance Domain combined with Regicide is the combo for you. While you're still working toward a full Tier S setup, don't hesitate to use the Tier A options. In particular, Arcane Domain and Holy Blade Domain are both very reliable choices during the mid-game. As for Tier D, let me say it one more time, stay away from them completely. Don't let those flashy high percentage numbers fool you and make you forget about the actual price you have to pay for them. And that's everything from my testing and experience with the Assassin Inscription system in WoW Adventure. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to support the channel so I can keep bringing you more quality content. And if you have a different build that you think is even better, let me know in the comments so we can discuss it together. Thanks for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you in the next video.